Bursting onto the scene late last year, newcomers Wileyfox certainly caused a stir. As their interestingly chosen moniker suggested, Wileyfox had a desire to intrigue and disrupt. Of their two initial offerings, it was the budget-conscious Swift, which piqued the interest of critic and customer alike. Priced at just £129, the Swift, at the time, pulled the rug from under every other budget handset on the market. Cheaper phones were of course available, but somewhere down the line sacrifices had to be made, be that in build quality or customer service. The Swift was arguably the only device at this price to deliver decent specifications and performance. Wileyfox's promise of a UK and European warranty and distribution was also an excellent proposition. Sales were brilliant and thanks to some savvy marketing, still continue. The mobile industry evolves rapidly, however, and it wasn't long before competitors appeared. Wileyfox countered with the Spark range. These were even cheaper, but inevitably lowered the specs a bit. With the Spark model sat in the same price tier as the original Swift, the new version has been moved up the ladder somewhat. As such, the Swift 2 isn't the entry-level device its originator was. Instead, Wileyfox have chosen to attack the tier above. The Swift 2, therefore, wants to be the cheapest mid-range phone you can buy. But does it pull it off? In order to move up a weight class, you have to look the part. The first Swift wasn't ugly by any definition, however, the soft plastic finish, angular edges and removable back and battery don't really cut it in modern design. Wileyfox chose a sealed metal construction for the second generation Swift. This might frustrate those who still want a removable battery, and if you're in that camp, then I'll have to divert your attention back to the Spark range. The resulting finish does look and feel more premium though, and that's the overused adjective of the year. However, it's not the most refined. Both the standard and plus models have the same design and casing. There's a chamfer to the edges, although it's a sharp angle rather than a smooth transition. It's also tough to call this unibody when there are a few gaps and lines where the pieces are fitted together. Overall though, it's still a very smart looking phone. It's not quite up with the sleek manufacturing of similarly priced devices from Honor, although remember the whole of Huawei backs that particular venture. This said, the RRP of £160 or £190 for the Plus provides a preconception for build quality, and that's easily surpassed. Other than the aforementioned Honor, no one else delivers a phone that looks as nice at this price. The midnight blue finish I used was quite understated, being neither flashy nor gaudy. Gold and pink models will be launching soon for those looking to make more of a statement. Now, I haven't seen those firsthand, although the press images do make them out to be fairly vibrant. The power and volume buttons have satisfying travel and click, and that's indicative of a good build. Holes for the speaker on the base, the headphone jack, the USB Type-C port, they're also all finely milled without any sharp edges. Now, a fingerprint sensor has been one of the kind of Marmite features on smartphones for the past few years. Even if many people might not need it, every flagship simply has to have one, lest it appear to be behind the times. But it's been a manufacturer's choice at the mid-range. Down at the even lower prices, where profit margins are thinner, keeping a relatively expensive bit of hardware out of costs has been a simple decision for almost every manufacturer. Wileyfox are therefore making a statement by having a fingerprint sensor on a device this cheap. Rather than dismissing the sensor and getting as low a price as possible on a good-looking phone, the sensor is a feature that interests enough potential buyers to warrant the phone's total price being over £150. The sensor itself is pretty standard. The placement on the back and under the camera is where you'd expect, and that's where your index finger rests naturally. The response time is average. It's definitely not the fastest I've used, but it had no issue differentiating between several fingers either. Like all sensors, it doesn't like wet hands or overly smooth skin, so it won't work if you've just washed your hands or come out of the shower. The fingerprint sensor has also been paired with a modern NFC chip. This has secure element technology, which means the Swift 2 and 2 Plus are fully Android Pay compatible. Like a lot of people, I've fully embraced contactless payments on my debit card. In fact, most of my daily transactions are done this way. Since the UK limit was raised to £30 in a single transaction, I've done most of my food shopping or rounds at the bar with a simple beep. Android Pay simply extends this. You download the app, scan your card with the camera and register the details. Only a few minutes later, you're able to pop down the shops and just beep your phone in the same way as you would beep your card. Hello 2016. Of course, you need to have screen protection installed on the phone to use Android Pay. That's where the fingerprint sensor is useful. It's not a necessity. You can still use a password or a code or a pattern, but being able to just drop your finger onto the sensor while the phone is in your pocket, unlock the screen and have the phone ready to press against the terminal by the time you're lifted up is a seamless manoeuvre. Simply put, using Android Pay on the Swift 2 Plus was very, very simple. As well as using it for Android Pay, the NFC tag can also be utilised to connect with other tags and other phones for sharing content or changing settings. The rest of the connectivity on the phone is fairly generic for a low to mid-tier device. There's LTE support on the standard UK and European bands, standard Wi-Fi of BGN, Bluetooth 4. There's FM radio, that's always nice to see. I do wonder why it's taken out of many higher end devices. It would be nice to see a phone of this price improve on the Wi-Fi and more international LTE bands as well, but that would likely require a more advanced processor and therefore higher costs. The Swift 2 though remains on a par with its competition in these more techie areas. Has embraced two new features though. One is fast charging thanks to the new Qualcomm processor, and the other is USB Type-C. As 2016 has progressed, the new USB connector has been picked up by many manufacturers. With good quality cables, you can enjoy fast transfer and charging speeds. Wileyfox don't include a wall charger in the box, you do get the USB-C cable though. The jump in day-to-day quality from the last Swift isn't huge to this one, but it is definitely noticeable. Last year's phone was already ticking over quite nicely with a quad-core Snapdragon 410. That's been improved up to an octa-core Snapdragon 430. Higher clock speed, extra cores, allows for better power management, and if you do happen to be a big multitasker then you should see some improvement. There's also a bump in the graphics processing for those who enjoy their games. One thing that is worth noting here is that the Plus version has an extra gig of RAM. If your phone is in your hand a lot, then this is probably worth the extra £30 alone. You also double the storage to 32 gigs. The Cyanogen OS system that is running here is based on Android 6 with several extra tweaks. There's a lot of fine control in the settings with options to modify aspects of the system like notification icons, the colour palette, you can have individual tones for themes, and there's a lot of extra security features as well. We've gone in depth on Cyanogen OS in the past. It's safe to say that it's a very good version of the Android system while still giving you everything you would expect from Android 6. In terms of the cameras, I had the Wileyfox Swift 2 Plus for this review. There are slight differences in the cameras between the both models. The standard Swift 2 is a 13 megapixel camera, the 2 Plus is a 16 megapixel camera. They are both though from the same Samsung family of imaging modules, so the end results are very, very similar. In the written review you can look at a gallery of the images. Expect a very similar response from the standard Swift 2 to the Swift 2 Plus that I've been using. I'm pleased with the amount of detail that the cameras picked up, although the results were a little bit dark and perhaps a little bit blue in tone. Whether that was down to the lighting on the day, I can't be too sure, but it seemed to be quite consistent. There were also perhaps a few problems with overexposure when there was light coming in from the front. Again, low sunlight in winter were probably exacerbating these effects, but it's safe to say the indoor shots were probably a lot better than the outdoor shots when there was consistent indoor lighting surrounding the camera. The post-processing there with bright natural light wasn't as good as I would have hoped. However, worth remembering, this is still only a £190 or £160 phone. You can do a lot worse than this, and the Wileyfox Swift 2 has a better camera than many others I've tried down at this price range. The results are still passable, you still get a lot of fine detail, and with the right setup and with a bit of time taken you can still get some very nice looking images. The video too also comes out quite nicely. In conclusion, Wileyfox's second generation Swift is an excellent phone for this price range. Pound for pound, it's probably not quite as good a deal as last year's Swift was, however Wileyfox were always unlikely to catch lightning in a bowl twice. Plus, when you take a proper look around at the competition, it's still tough to pick out any true contenders. Traditionally, this has been Moto's area, however the Moto G4 raised the price and styling of Moto's original budget line. None of the other major brands really offer anything compelling either. Samsung and LG's budget phones are kind of plastic Fisher-Price affairs designed to appeal to those hunting low-price monthly contracts from major retailers. The only true competition I can see have been mentioned a couple of times in this review already, and that's Honor, the Huawei subsidiary. Disregarding own brand phones from the likes of Vodafone or EE, Honor's 5C and 5X are the only two phones on sale in the UK that can really hold a candle to these two new Swift phones in terms of their price and specification. There are some slight differences, and between all of the phones you will find that there is a reason for each one finding its own slightly different price point between £150 and £200. You will also find differences in the interface. Honor have an EMUI interface from Huawei, which many find quite garish, and neither of those phones have USB Type-C like the two new Wileyfoxes do. Plus, if you go for the 2 Plus Wileyfox Swift, then you can have the 3GB of RAM and 32GB of storage, which neither of the Honors offer. So, swings and roundabouts here. When all is said and done, both new Swift models deliver a very impressive set of features and design when you consider the price and competition. Those looking to spend as little money as possible will probably be better off looking at Wileyfox's Spark phones. Those wanting to make a saving but still have a modern and capable phone should definitely have one of these two new Swifts in their shortlist.